So, with a cram-packed full schedule as a medic and only 24 hours in a day, it can sometimes feel like there is no time left to pick up a paintbrush or play your favorite instrument. So, our question is it possible for medics to pursue hobbies outside a medical or surgical career, and how? Joining me today is Professor Nadey Hakim, an award-winning sculptor and musician who also happens to be an esteemed general surgeon who performed the world's first hand transplant. Hello, Professor Hakim. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Sophia. It's nice to see you, and I'm delighted to be joining you for this talk. The question about other things to do than just medicine is really vital. I have to say I'm very fortunate that I managed to, since I was a kid, to play music. The other thing is art. Sculpting came a bit later. I started sculpting just after I got appointed as a consultant. Before that, I used to draw. And this again has been incredibly instrumental in my progress, not only just in surgery, but on a daily life. I'll give you examples later about how important it has been for me to advance and expand my knowledge and to meet so many different people, which I'm sure I could not have done without that particular skill.
That sounds wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about how you started music then. You said you started as a child.
Yeah, as a child, I come from a musical family. My mother played the piano and my father played the mandolin. So we were brought up in a family. We were 4 kids. Each of us started with the piano, but my second brother was very gifted, and actually he ended up being the organist of the Sacré-Cœur in Paris. So he occupied the piano, so we had to find another instrument to play, and I picked up the clarinet. And I am very fortunate and very grateful to my father who bought that clarinet for me, which is the same clarinet I still play, and I still play almost every day or every other day. I don't play the piano anymore, so I stick to the clarinet, but whoever plays the piano, whoever is listening to us today and plays the piano, they should never give it up. It is vital.
So I suppose the big question is, how do you find the time to play the clarinet every other day?
I find the time to play the clarinet every other day because I make it a point. I put a target on a yearly basis of producing a CD. If you have that target in mind, you have to satisfy the producer and play well on the day. So that forces me to play on a regular basis. I've been invited to play at recording concerts. The most recent one was at the Russian embassy. I've done it twice, and I was very fortunate to play with the Russian musicians. And as we all know, Russians are very gifted in music. So to play with professionals who are Russian was such a fantastic present to myself. So why not play an instrument and share that music with other people, especially if you play it on a regular basis, you're bound to play it well. When I read the music now, it's not me reading the music, it's my fingers which are reading the music. This is why I think it becomes second nature.
What kind of goals do you set for yourself when you do sculpting?
Sculpting, again, at the beginning, it used to take me 9 months, 10 months to finish a sculpture. Now I can finish it in a week or 2. The most recent commission I had, a very nice commission, because it's a church in Bolton where they wanted to immortalize the 5 benefactors of that church. I said, I'll be honored, of course I'll do that. And they're done. I finished them. I finished the whole 5 of them in 20 days. And they're quite large heads. But again, when you have the motivation, you have the aim, everything else comes into place without you thinking. If you ask me to do it today, I might not manage. But because of that particular day when they commissioned them, I was so motivated. I want to make sure it works and it looks exactly the way it should. It worked.
Which sculpture would you say is your favorite?
Actually, I have to say the one which comes to mind is we all love Italian art, and the two names which come to mind when you think of Italy and the Renaissance is going to be Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Now, Michelangelo did the very famous David. I always loved that head of David. So I once went to Italy, this was exactly 5 years now, and I went on a workshop and I told the Italian professor at the time, I want to reproduce the head of David. He laughed at me, he said, oh, what do you mean, you're here for 5 days, you can't do it. But believe it or not, Sophia, I managed. So the Italians liked it so much that they put it in a museum in Italy, in next to Florence. And for me, this is the nicest thing which could have happened to that sculpture and to myself as a person, because the sculpture will be there for many years to come. My great-great-great-grandchildren will go and have a look at it and see that, oh, the great-grandfather did this particular sculpture. This is how I look at it.
How did you get into sculpting, and do you have any tips for beginners who want to take up the hobby?
Actually, very good question. And you'll be surprised by the answer, because I woke up one day and I said, well, I would like to immortalize my parents. So I went to a school of art in London, Hampstead, and I told the guy, oh, how can I do this? I just want to do my father or my mother. And he said, well, we have a lesson today. Why don't you just stay and let's see how it goes? And I got hooked. You look at that sculpture and it speaks to you. See, this is especially the eyes. The eyes are the most important things in a sculpture. Those heads are opening one door after another. You know, I managed to meet the Pope. I met Macron. I went to North Korea, believe it or not. This gives you the true meaning of what sculpting can do. It opens any door.
So how has sculpting influenced your approach to surgery, and how have you developed your skills in both?
Surgery is easier than sculpting. When you join skin together, you just stitch it together, correct? It might not be perfect when you finish, but a week later, when you see the patient again, it has all adjusted because the healing has taken place. There's an extra healing which you're not responsible for, correct? Sculpting is different. When you finish your sculpture and it's the way you have finished it, it will be like this forever and ever. How did it help? You become more of a perfectionist having done sculpting when you do your surgery, because you have that point in mind.
Are there any practical challenges to being a surgeon and a sculptor?
It's very important to be fit. You know, you see some old surgeons who've got backache, who can't walk because their knees or their hips and their back is bent. All this doesn't make it easy to carry on being a surgeon.
So what does your average day look like?
I shave first, do my half-hour gym, and come back, take my shower, get dressed, and I feel that half hour has really changed the whole day already. Then I carry on working all day. I go from one hospital to another. I still find time to edit books, which I enjoy, and I've done my 24th book now. As we all know, publish or perish. each of you should be publishing on a regular basis every year 2-3 papers, so that by the time you go for your interview for any job after your medical school, people will say, my God, oh, this person has made the effort to publish.
Do you have any other particular tips about publishing? If people want to get into publishing, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I learned that trick in the US when I went to the Mayo Clinic. I was doing my fellowship. If you write a paper, you are, let's say, the main author with your boss at the end. Then you ask a friend to help you write it. And the other fellows, we've got 5-6 names on that particular paper, right? Each of those will have themselves a paper to write, and they will put your name on it. So you multiply the number of papers from 1 to 5, correct? So do not be selfish, say, oh, this is my paper, I don't want anybody else on it. No, on the contrary, put your next door fellow who's at school with you or whatever, and then you end up having, let's say, 5 names. Obviously they have to do something to justify their presence on the paper, but again, you can help them with their own paper. It's all the same in anything you do, even in medicine, where you write books. It depends who you're writing the book with. Who is your co-editor? Is the co-editor somebody very famous? Is the cover of the book going to be covered by a particular painting done by, in my case, I asked Sir Roy Khan. He offers me his paintings to put on the cover of my book. So it becomes, again, part of the book. Asking someone to write the foreword of a book, for instance. Again, on 2 occasions, I had the Nobel Prize winner, Jean Dosset. Jean Dosset is the discoverer of HLA. How did I get that? It's again by knocking on doors.
If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say?
I would say, that's a good question. Each year of your life has got its beauty and its strength, and I think make sure you not waste any time to fill them with some significant achievements, so that you can show 30 years later that, when I was 20, 21, 22, I've done a lot of things which have traveled with me over those years, and they're still with me. Whether it is surgery, whether it's music, whether it's sculpting, we all become mature at what we're doing.
And finally, any words of wisdom for medical students or young doctors or budding surgeons who may be watching this and struggling with balancing their lifestyle?
Balancing the lifestyle is going to be the most important thing for anyone. You have to be efficient and have a name. This allows you to reach destination regardless of what happens on the way. You have to be very positive. I think this is the most important thing. And I finished with one particular story, which I think it just came into my mind. There was a particular patient who had a kidney transplant. I explored the kidney, I explored the patient. The kidney was black, completely black. And the nurse is next to me and the doctor said, come on, let's remove it. It's dead. I said, no. It is not going to fail. I will not allow it to fail, but I was looking at it, it was black. I started playing with it. I milked the vessels, and believe it or not, within 5 minutes, it turned pink. Now, if you tell me the story, I said, he's definitely talking rubbish. It can't be. But I tell you, I lived it, and it works. Never give up, and it works.
That is a wonderful point to finish up on. Huge thank you again to Professor Hakim for joining me today. It's been very interesting and inspirational. You can follow Professor Hakim on Instagram at Nadey Hakim Sculptures or at Nadey Hakim. And don't forget to join our community at Medic Plus Club to meet other like-minded medics and see what other exciting things we've got on.